All right, so we talked to some countertop places, and the outlook of countertops is over 3 months. We have done epoxy countertops before, so we've decided to do them again. As you can see, I've already cut out, this is for the island. I have an overhang, 6 inches, 6 inches. This side's gonna be 1.5 inches, and this side's gonna be flush. You'll see once it's on the countertop. This is MDF. I drew the line because I'm gonna double up the MDF to make this 1.5 inches thick. So that line helps me know where I need to double it up. I wanna try to use as little MDF as possible because this thing gets really heavy the more MDF you put on it. So I'm gonna start doubling them up. I use glue and nails, and then we'll start sanding, and I'll show you how I finish it for the epoxy pour. Just to make sure my nails don't blow through, I got 2 scrap pieces. We're good to go. That was a little too skinny. I didn't want to have it hanging off 1/8 of an inch. We'll go a little wider. It's going to make this heavier, but it'll work. I'm going to want a little squeeze out because that helps with the finishing. It helps with that seam, makes it invisible. This is the last of my Titebond 2. I've moved up to the Titebond 3. I haven't used any other wood glues because I've had such good luck with Titebond. Thank y'all for watching. As I mentioned, we were looking into stone countertops, and after talking with multiple suppliers, the earliest we could get any installed was 3 or more months away. We just couldn't wait that long. Also, we've been saving a lot of money by building everything ourselves, so we decided to do epoxy and keep that trend going. The stone countertops we were looking at were going to be around $7,000, and the countertops we built were around $1,000. I have poured a kitchen countertop in the past, so this is not my first time. But if you might feel like you'll be overwhelmed with something this big, I suggest trying a smaller project to practice before going large scale. There's a lot of great information online about epoxy countertops. I will be using the Stone Coat epoxy system, and they have great instructional videos on YouTube about building the countertops and mixing colors. Let me know if you have any questions about my process, and tell me what you think about the final product. After hitting all the sides with Bondo, I waited 24 hours before I started the finishing work. I'm using an 1/8" roundover bit in my router and 120 grit on my orbital sander. You want both the top and bottom of the countertop sides to be rounded. This will allow the epoxy to coat it evenly. And I'm not a fan of a full bullnose or the rounded look, so I made my rounded corners very slight. You want to ensure you take your time during this process because the epoxy will conform to any imperfections you leave behind. The Bondo, it does an excellent job of hiding the seam between the two MDF boards, but it doesn't leave the smoothest finish. So even after I sand it, I have to go back and use wood filler to fill any imperfections to ensure the result is smooth when I'm done. The paint I'm going to be using is from Stone Coat Epoxy. It's an epoxy undercoat, white. I'm going to be rolling it on, doing 2 coats. So a little update on the countertops. This one's going to go on the left side of the sink. This is where I'm going to attach my second part of the countertop. And you'll see I'm going to try to make it seamless. I'll be using Bondo when I attach these together, and I'll be nailing them from the face from up here. And we'll just wood glue them, sand them, repaint them, and you will not be able to see that seam like most countertops, stone countertops I should say. For my corners, I cut 90 degrees. It's a little more difficult when you do that because then you have to get the sander in there, you can see, and kind of round off the corner. An easier way to do it is to get a drill bit and just drill a hole through it and then meet your two corners. Then you'll have a rounded For my aesthetic, I wanted it a little more sharp, so I just cut my 90 and then sanded it down. I've already got my little one done. This one's gonna go beside the stove. It's already ready to go in. Over here. This is the one I just built. This is the second part of the main countertop. And you'll see how these two will fit together right here. Here's the slot. So I have to Bondo the edges of this one and sand it smooth and give it some paint. The next step is going to be a red guard or a I'm using Mapai Aqua Defense, and this is just a waterproofing membrane. So anywhere you're going to have water, a sink, mainly probably just a sink. I'll have a sink and a dishwasher. I'm going to paint under it with this. The epoxy is going to act as your water barrier, but you need to put a water membrane up under it for any kind of condensation. MDF, as you probably know, if it gets wet, it will swell up. So you need to make sure you protect it from any moisture. So I'm going to cover most of this section. The sink ends here, but then my dishwasher goes to like here. I'm probably just going to go ahead and coat this entire bottom with my waterproofing membrane. This one won't get any because it's by the stove. My other side, if you can see this cutout right here, this is the sink. So all of this is going to get it. I'll probably stop on the back side right here because this is going to be for beside the stove. So I'll probably just do up under here with the waterproofing membrane. one whole white metallic package for each gallon, a lot of the white dye, and about a quarter of the diamond dust. The silver was mixed separately for the veining. Pouring the epoxy is extremely messy. So as you see, we have plastic down everywhere. I also have disposable booties on because you will step in the epoxy. Some other precautions to take is wearing hats so hair doesn't get in the epoxy. And if you can, hang plastic from the ceiling to create a clean room, which minimizes dust. The epoxy can take up to 24 hours to cure, so anything will stick to it during this period. Just think hospital clean until it is dry. Doing here is called chopping in, but not the correct way. I did not give good instruction and had my back turned while she did most of the countertop without me noticing. This process ensures the epoxy has full contact to the surface of the countertop, and it helps distribute the metallic powders throughout, giving it a more natural look. The proper way of chopping in to get a natural look, you need to be sporadic and not uniform with the movements. And as you can see, once I do notice, I correct it and we do start doing sporadic movements to make it look more natural. So it's been 24 hours since we poured our top coat, which was just a straight epoxy. Everything looks pretty good. For the first few hours after you pour your top coat, you have to go back through and wipe off the drips. You can wipe with your hand or with the brush. And then after a while, we pull the plastic and see how much we got on the ground and start wiping it up, because this is a messy, messy process. You can see here, you see there's epoxy here, and this will be behind the stove, so it's fine, but this sticks. So what we're gonna do now is sand all of it with 220 grit sandpaper to apply our final coat. I use stone coat epoxy for everything. The final coat is going to be what they call the ultimate top coat. It's a protective layer. I think of it as like the ceramic coating of it. It gives it more scratch resilience. We're also going to get rid of the gloss. I did a natural finish, so it'd be a lot duller than what it is now. They do have a gloss one, but we didn't want this. We didn't want the high shine on it. But if you wanted to, the ultimate top coat is it's an option. You don't have to use it. So this could be the finished project here with the gloss and everything. You could sand it down to get the dull finish, but this could be the finished product. But we'll go ahead and sand it now. So this is the ultimate top coat. It's a two-part. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. I got the natural clear finish. I know this says gloss. I called Stone Coat. They said it doesn't matter as long as part A says natural. So hopefully that's right. We'll go ahead and mix this up after I clean this out. This, they say, should cover 50 square feet. I have an extra one, but I'm hoping this covers everything. You gotta go fast with this stuff. It actually doesn't have that long of a working time, not like their Stone Coat Epoxy, which has a very long working time. This is not that long. It's actually pretty thick. What they do is they add water to thin it, just a little bit. That makes it a lot thinner for easier application. And if you see, I have two rollers here. One is your wet roller, one's your dry one, and you'll see how I do the application.